Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading room. Just a moment here. We'll get the screen share going on. Okay, all set to go. Okay, so the markets just opened after a decent day yesterday, but a rather sideways day overall. If we take a look here at the Eagle, you can see we spent a lot of time retracing back and forth, back and forth. I'm starting to think that the market is going to end up in a little bit of a sideways pattern probably for the rest of the summer. So we better get used to this. It's not much fun, but we'll see how things play out. You can see where trading left off. We finished the session yesterday around 58.54. Really quiet through the overnight. And now we're opening down here with a little bit of a downside gap. Opened around the 58.40 area. And our first Eagle signal printing just a few seconds after the open. And it does appear as though the market's going to try to head lower from there. So we'll just put that on the shelf for now. I'm going to give them a few minutes to settle in. If the market's going to do anything resembling a trend today, then we should have plenty of opportunities to get on board. Well, we're getting a little bit of follow through there now. Could it be that we are going to be in a bear trend today? It's a pretty strong rally out of the open. Well, relatively speaking. Relative to how it has been, it's a pretty strong rally. Certainly enough out of that initial move to get to our high probability profit target, making me wish I had thrown at least a single contract on it this morning. But like I said, it developed just a few seconds after the open, and I wasn't even ready for it yet. Nice number one cloud crossover signal here on the Raptor. The cloud's crossing from a bullish mode here to a bearish mode. The cloud crossover always preceded by a little bit of a pullback, and the market showing you that in fact it does want to try to resume that new trend. That came pre-market. And now that the sellers had their turn, maybe the buyers are going to come back. I'm watching the Geiger counter here, and you can see how it's pulling hard, or was trying to pull hard to the buy side. Peter's having audio problems. I'm assuming since nobody else wrote, are you saying anything? That it's on Peter's end. All right, well, I wonder, are we going to get a number 2 buy signal here? That would be the soft edge buy. Or shall I just wait for a pullback and a hard edge bounce? Decisions. The soft edge buy, of course, the counter trend signal. Two requirements for a counter trend signal. First, you must have a trend. Secondly, you have to have a test of the extreme. In this case, the extreme is the low. We need to see the market test and that low hold, and then the market try to reverse and head higher. That may in fact produce a counter trend signal and give us a buying opportunity. We have broken yesterday's lows though. Remember yesterday we spent a whole lot of time around that 58.50 area. I think the low was around 58.31, if I remember right. So we're just below yesterday's lows. All right, things starting to look a little bit more bullish. The macro pullback signal here may be drifting into a 4-arrow consolidation, and the filter changing on the Falcon as well. So a couple of indications here. We might get a rally. Not saying it's going to turn into a full-blown bull move. Oop. All right, so the Raptor obviously did not consider this bar here to be much of a test of the extreme. Because we didn't print our number 2 signal to go higher. It's open to interpretation because it's a rather quick little move. We'll see whether we get a deeper retest of the lows. Or, like I said, we may just follow up with a hard edge bounce. Still relatively early in the session. And I would be inclined to give the sellers the upper hand at the moment. And kind of mean on the daily. The daily bias might be down today. Although, my goodness, if the buyers keep pressing like this, look at this move. Okay, we're actually getting a first micro-macro cross higher here on the hawk. We are printing a warning dot here, a buy warning dot on the Raptor. Not too interested in buying the Raptor yet because there hasn't been a proper test of the extreme. So I'm looking for a retest of the low of the morning. Ooh, and it's almost quarter to the hour, my least favorite time to trade. Seems to be the time of the day when sometimes the market tosses you a little bit of a knuckleball. It's not that you can't hit it, but sometimes it'll do all kinds of crazy things. Okay, so here's that first micro-macro cross higher. High probability trade, of course. I'm not going to take this one. I'm going to hold out for a better looking trade, but it's a scalp, right? So you're not asking too much out of the market. Pretty sure that we should see the market trade at least to that profit objective. All right, so that scalp target has since hit its high probability target. And now we're getting a buy signal on the Raptor. Really? Is that all I'm going to get for a retest? This little hiccup down here? Okay, we've managed to drift back into the hard edge. And of course, the hard edge is where we anticipate some sort of reaction. Absolutely, Paul. Paul's asking, good morning, Eric. Could you please explain the significance and probability of the green bar sell and the red bar buy on the Eagle? Okay. So one of our Eagle signals is a green bar sell in a downtrend and a red bar buy in an uptrend. They tend to be continuation signals. So ideally, there's at least a little something resembling a trend preceding them. They will always occur when the market encounters the hard edge. They tend to be very high probability signals with a good degree of follow-through most times. The green bar sell, which is what we're watching develop right now, happens when the prices drift far enough that the programming that paints the bar colors actually shifts from a bearish mode, which would be red one, to a bullish mode, which would be green. However, the underlying market conditions in the rest of the programming are still bearish and produce a sell signal. With the green bar sell, it's almost as though the market is rallying and then all of a sudden the sellers get woken up, somebody sticks them in the ribs and says, hey, if you guys are serious about moving this market lower, you better get to it because the buyers are starting to get control. And of course, the opposite is true in a red bar buy. Let me see if I can find one right here, red bar buy. So you got red bars, but you've produced a buy signal. These are high probability signals. As you can see, they tend to have at least enough follow through to find our profit objective. And as I mentioned, they should have something resembling a trend beforehand. You don't usually just do red bar buy, green bar sells when there's not much of a trend, even though both of these worked out, that example. But you just don't go selling every green bar that produces a sell signal. But yeah, if we're into the hard edge, if we produce a sell signal out of this, it would be worth trying. Oh, Anthony wants to sell 58.41 3/4. He wants to, or he has sold the high, or he wants to sell the high. So a little bit of a run up there. Looks like the Falcon has found its profit target off of the trend change signal that developed when the trend line changed color. Yes, it has. No problem finding the profit objective there. And in spite of my waiting, I'm none the wiser which way this market wants to go today. Had a nice bear move, had a nice bull move. Well, I always say who controls the last swing controls the market, and that would be the buyers at this point. much easier buying and selling on a pullback, which is kind of what I'm holding out for now. We're starting, obviously, the Hawk and the Falcon a little bit more bullish. The Falcon starting to produce, or pardon me, the Raptor, I've got too many things going on here, starting to produce a cloud crossover. I still believe we should see a better retest of the lows. Don't know if we're going to get it. The buyers, after that short little move to the downside that took about the first 5 minutes of trading, have controlled the market ever since. So the last 20 minutes or so have all been buyers. I know how you feel, Steve. Steve says, just when I go long, the market stalls. Yeah, I think the buyers, like I said, they've been pressing for almost a half an hour now. It does seem as though they are going to continue higher. Not really looking at a good opportunity to get back in, though. That's the problem. I need to see a little bit of a dip somewhere first so one of our signals can come through. Of course, if you consider the market just to be full on bullish today, you could just buy and hold. I only need one or two trades to make it worthwhile, though, so I'm going to hold out here. Opening range almost expired. All right, here's a little bit of a push. All right, it looks as though we've hit a little bit of a congestion point. The market seemingly holding the highs here at 58.45 this morning, that being the high of the day so far. And we may finally get that test of the extreme. Looks as though we have broken the uptrend ever so slightly. Or we'll see, this might just develop into a cloud crossover signal as well. The cloud's crossing over here is the pullback. If the market bounces out of here, it's going to produce a number one signal. Still looking for that retest. All right, starting to get a slightly different look. There was a red bar buy here a moment ago. All right, here's a possible red bar buy signal on the hawk. The red bar buy, of course, can also be our counter trend signal. So we can set up to short that. The Falcon already changing the trend line, hasn't produced a sell signal just yet, and the Raptor now back into the hard edge from the top side. So we've got a really, really balanced market here at the moment. We are also just above the support here at 58.34. If that yields, I could see a pullback all the way here to 58.26 being possible before the buyers try to recover the market again. So we'll just have to wait them out here a little bit longer. I know it's boring, but that's trading. All right, so here now we have, come back here. I'm surprised that didn't print the cloud crossover signal, the number one. I guess because the clouds weren't fully crossed. Now that the clouds are crossed more, if we get another pullback, it will come back and produce a number one crossover signal. But it looks as though the market has rallied and it's going to fill that overnight gap. this red bar buy signal, I would have, honestly, I probably would have set up to short it. So the red bar buy, as I said, is a signal on the hawk, not to be confused with the red bar buy on the eagle, which is a very strong signal. The red bar buy on the hawk tends to develop near the end of a trend. For that reason, you can trade it either way. You can either trade it with trend, or you can set up for the failure of it, and you can try to short it. The red bar buy, if it does reverse, it will usually be followed up by a first micro macro cross signal to sell. So you can always just use it as an early warning as well that the trend might be ending. And in spite of that impressive little push higher, the buying seems to have stalled again. So we'll see here whether we're going to get some selling out of this. Well, kind of shut out here a little bit this morning. Maybe a touch too cautious, but that's all right. The day's not done yet. I only need one or two to make it worthwhile. So if I don't see it this morning, I will certainly get a chance to pick something up before the end of the day. We're seeing a lot of volume come through again. You see how this bar is a little bit wider after our little run up. Obviously some selling going on up here now. The market's still in an uptrend, no question about that. So if we're going to do anything to the short side, I think it's prudent to take profit on target. I'm not sure we're going to see a huge run lower. Don't really have any counter trend signals at the moment anyhow. Funny kind of day today. They've been rallying the market for nearly an hour now, which is pretty impressive. we've got a couple heavy bars here at the highs. There's been a fair exchange of contracts up here at the 58.50 area. Oh, 58.50, isn't that a familiar number? Oh, thanks, Piotr. Piotr says there's already a downtrend going on the DAX, so we might see a reverse. This is a very good question. John asked, I set up an OCO order last night that did not trigger. What would cause that to happen? The buy stop was hit and just kept going. The reversal was very fast. That is a mystery, John. I don't know, because if you're using a stop order, even if the market hops over you, you should get filled with a slippage. Now, if you were using a stop limit order instead of a stop order, the market may have just hopped right over you, but that is very odd. I can't account for that. If it happens again, you should actually, well, you can notify Ben, but you should actually talk to your broker and say, why are my stop orders not getting filled? Well, hats off to the market. They filled the whole gap from this morning. That's where we're trading right now, back at the median line. Yeah, John says the OCO worked fine today. Honestly, I'm at a bit of a loss why that would have happened to you.
Order canceled. Order pending.
Well, the bears must be getting pretty itchy by now, I have to say. After watching the market rally this high, the sellers just kind of sitting on the sidelines. Vic says, I'm often at a loss. Just enjoy it. One of those benefits of getting older. Hey, Vic? We just don't care anymore. Don't understand what's going on and we just don't care. Yeah, Vic says I only admit to being 15 years old. I read a psychological article once that said it doesn't matter how old you get, you still have the mind of a teenager. I can see that. Well, the buyers still in control here. I'm still waiting for an opportunity to get in. I'm still shut out at the moment. The higher they get, the more likely that we are going to see at least a little bit of a reverse, perhaps back to the hard edge, perhaps a nice little hard edge bounce for me to try to take advantage of. The rally does seem to be slowing a little bit. It's kind of been a slow motion rally here, but we had a nice leg up here. And you can see at the turning point there was very little resistance. Then the next leg up, the bar is getting a little bit heavier. And here's the third leg up, the bar is getting heavier still. So I'm thinking there's going to be a little bit of a pushback somewhere here.
Order pending.
And when we get that out of the way, and Tom's asking, are you looking to buy the pullback? I am, as a matter of fact, Tom. That's kind of what I'm sitting on my hands here for. I'm not that aggressive of a seller, and we don't actually have anything resembling a counter trend signal just yet. The Raptor probably would be one of the first here to give us a counter trend signal if we see a little retest of this high, similar to what we had down here. It would be a quick little retest and a failure. There might be an opportunity for a short. Yeah, you could be right, Piotr. Piotr writes, I think it's time to test support right now. They had three nice legs up, so we need to reduce some pressure. There could be some profit taking going on, as traders liquidate some of their profit positions. I think, given that we're around this 58.50 area, which was very influential yesterday. if you remember, 58.50 gave us all kinds of static. I think it's reasonable to assume there could be a little bit of a pushback from the sellers who enjoyed shorting 58.50 yesterday. I can see them trying to do that again today. And that may cause prices to dip a little bit. You can see we've got the makings of a macro pullback signal here in the hawk. The beginnings of either a trend change or a late filter entry in the falcon. The eagle, we'd be looking here for a little bit of a pushback to the hard edge. Ditto for the raptor. However, the raptor might give us something resembling a test of the extreme and the opportunity for a counter trend signal. But if the sellers are thinking downtrend, they've got to do some serious pushback. Yeah, I was watching that too. Tom says we had a red bar buy here on the hawk. It has since disappeared. It's moved back into yellow bars. We'll see if we get a little pushback and then a failure, and that would make for a solid sell signal. Okay, here comes that red bar buy signal again on the hawk. Just have the warning dot at the moment. We are slipping back into the hard edge. So this is a little bit dicey given that the market is in an uptrend today. I don't think there's any denying that. But if I get the completed red bar buy signal, there we go. I can set up to short it below the low. Now, the red bar buy signal, because it does develop near the end of the trend, it's unusual to see more than two within a trend. So if this one fails, there's probably a pretty good chance it will try to head a little bit lower from here. So hot on the heels of that red bar buy, we're working a possible first micro macro cross lower. It's kind of right on the cusp with the macro line just coming into sync as the signal prints. Almost. There we go, down to the break even, and come on, couple more ticks, couple more. Oh, whew, wow. That was hard work. Well, bigger sell-off than I thought we might have seen. But that's okay. I got my share. Well, you know, I said the sellers would have to get serious if they wanted to resume the downtrend, and that's a pretty serious looking move. Wow. And there they go. Look at that. Pretty strong pushback on the part of the sellers. Well, now this whole dance is going to start again. Somewhere in here, we're probably going to see a little bit of a pullback, and that might give us a cloud crossover signal to the short side. So here's 58.34, the support zone. If we break here, 58.26 would be a reasonable target. Hey, way to go, Tom. Tom says, I picked up that short signal as well, doubled on the move. Well done. Oh, here come the buyers now. Well, we haven't seen this kind of activity for a little while. Tom's also watching Netflix. He says the net. I'm assuming you're watching the stock, not actually watching Netflix while you're trading. Although that's a good way to pass the time, I suppose. Tom says Netflix up to new highs. Yes, right you are, Francisco. Francisco says we've got a signal here on the Eagle. We've got a red bar buy. I suppose this would be worth considering on a second push. I don't know if I would take it right on the hash mark. However, you could consider buying it above the high of that bar. That would get us in on some new momentum, some fresh momentum. I guess stops just need to go a little bit below here. Although, what did I say was the next support zone? 58.34, 58.26. Can I cover it below 26? Oh, probably not. Oh, I can. So that kind of trade would give you a lot of elbow room. You could also cover below 58.34, which is that other support zone. And we'll see now whether the buyers are serious about taking the market back. Will this be the test of the extreme? All that we can get? The Falcon trying to turn over, the Hawk still bearish, the Raptor just a little bit of a mess here this morning. Okay, well, stay with the market just a few more minutes. I do have a meeting at the top of the hour, so I'm going to duck out just a few minutes early so that I can make that meeting.
Order pending.
All right, so here we go. We'll see if we can get a couple bars in our favor. I'll run a more aggressive stop. I think I'm going to bring my break-even trigger in a little bit tighter as well. And I may have to adjust my profit objective also. If the market seems to be stalling at the highs or near the highs, there we go. We'll make it easy. Come on, get up there. All right, gang, I'm going to need to close up the trading room here. If you are in this trade, just look for another push up here as an opportunity to try to get your stops in a little bit tighter. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a sensitive area as we get closer to this 58.50 zone. The sellers are going to be inclined to try to short it again. As I mentioned, we may need to adjust our profit end as we get closer toward this last little swing high. Okay, so I will see you again tomorrow, and have yourselves a wonderful day. I will talk to you then. Bye for now.